Zeon and Kodo. As Kodo stood amidst the remnants of his old home, the dilapidated walls and overgrown vines whispered secrets from a past he had long forgotten. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and memories, each one tugging at the corners of his mind, stirring emotions he had buried deep within. The house, once a vibrant sanctuary of love and warmth, now felt like a mausoleum, entombing the echoes of a life lost to time and tragedy. Kodo's heart ached as he absorbed the reality of his surroundings, but he found solace in the presence of Joku, the chimpanzee who had become more than just a guide. He was a beacon of wisdom and stability in Kodo's tumultuous world. The elder's serene countenance and calm demeanor anchored Kodo in the present, providing the clarity he so desperately sought in this moment of introspection. Should I take the name Zeon or Kodo? Kodo's voice trembled as he voiced the question that had been gnawing at him since the revelation of his true identity. The weight of his history, of who he had been and who he was now, bore down on him, leaving him adrift in a sea of uncertainty. The name Zeon, once hidden from him, represented a legacy, a lineage of strength and hope that his parents had envisioned for him. But the name Kodo, though given to him under the guise of protection, had shaped him, molded him into the man he had become. Joku, with the wisdom of ages reflected in his eyes, met Kodo's gaze with unwavering resolve. No. You are Kodo, there is no more Zeon. Only one Kodo exists in this world. His words were not just an answer but a command, imbued with the authority of one who had seen the world through the lens of both history and the future. Joku's conviction stripped away the layers of doubt that clouded Kodo's mind, leaving behind a simple, undeniable truth: Kodo was who he was meant to be. Kodo felt a wave of relief wash over him as he embraced the name that had been both his shield and his sword, a name that represented resilience, determination, and a quiet strength that had carried him through the darkest moments of his life. Zeon was a part of him, a name steeped in the hope of victory, but Kodo was the identity he had forged through trials and tribulations, and it was the name under which he would continue his journey. With this internal struggle resolved, a sense of purpose began to stir within Kodo's heart. He felt a renewed energy, a drive that had been dormant for too long, now awakened by the truth of his origins and the responsibilities that came with them. Joku, sensing this shift in Kodo, took on the role of advisor with a new fervor. The elder chimpanzee knew that Kodo's journey was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. The first plan involves your revival, both physically and spiritually, Joku explained, his voice steady, each word carefully chosen. You have been lost in despair, weakened by the weight of your past and the betrayal you have suffered. But now, it is time to reclaim the strength that lies dormant within you, to hone your skills and sharpen your mind for the battles that lie ahead. Kodo listened intently, understanding the truth in Joku's words. The months of drowning his sorrows in alcohol had left him a shadow of his former self, both physically and mentally. He knew that before he could face the enemies who had taken everything from him, he must first confront his own demons, the doubts, the fears, and the pain that had consumed him. We will embark on a journey of self-discovery and redemption, Joku continued, his tone filled with a sense of purpose. It will not be easy. There will be times when you will want to give up, when the weight of your mission feels too great to bear. But you must remember that you are not alone. I will be with you, guiding you, helping you to rebuild the strength that was once yours. Kodo nodded, his determination solidifying with each passing moment. He understood the magnitude of the task before him, but he also knew that he could not walk away from it. The memories of his parents, both biological and adoptive, fueled his resolve. He would honor their sacrifices by becoming the warrior they had always believed he could be. And what of the second plan? Kodo asked, his curiosity piqued by Joku's earlier mention of a more enigmatic strategy. The elder's words had hinted at something deeper, something that required not just strength, but patience and cunning. The second plan, Joku replied, his tone becoming cryptic, is shrouded in mystery, awaiting revelation at the opportune moment. Such formidable schemes demand time, years, and fact. But know this, Kodo, the enemy you face is not just one of flesh and blood, but of ideas and influence. To defeat them, you will need to strike at the very heart of their power to unravel the web of deceit that has ensnared guerrillas for so long. A spark of determination ignited within Kodo's eyes. He understood that patience would be his greatest ally in the battles that lay ahead. The path to justice was not a sprint but a marathon, a journey fraught with challenges and obstacles, yet imbued with the promise of redemption. He was ready to commit to the long game, to endure whatever trials were necessary to bring those responsible for his family's demise to justice. Joku's words resonated deeply with Kodo, filling him with a sense of purpose that had been absent for far too long. He knew that this was his path, the journey he was meant to undertake. The time for mourning was over. The time for action had come. As they stood together in the ruins of his childhood home, Kodo felt a profound sense of connection to his past, but also a release, a letting go of the pain and loss that had held him back for so long. The chapter that was now beginning was not just about vengeance, but about honor, about reclaiming his identity and fulfilling the legacy of those who had come before him. And so, with a silent vow etched in his heart, Kodo embraced the mantle of responsibility that fate had bestowed upon him. The chapter, aptly titled Resurgence and Revelation, marked a turning point in Kodo's journey, a journey of self-discovery, reclamation, and a quest for justice that spanned the tapestry of years. As Kodo and Joku prepared to embark on their odyssey, the echoes of their footsteps reverberated through the corridors of fate, heralding the dawn of a new era, an era defined by courage, resilience, and the unwavering pursuit of truth. The weight of redemption. As the weight of the machete settled into his grasp, Kodo felt a surge of conflicting emotions surging through him. The weapon, once an extension of his own body, now felt foreign, its once familiar heft now a stark reminder of the physical toll his recent tribulations had exacted upon him. Standing amidst the remnants of his past, in the place where his journey had begun and where so much had been lost, Kodo knew that this was more than just a simple act of picking up a weapon. This was a turning point, a moment of reckoning with himself. Gripping the machete tightly, Kodo's hands trembled ever so slightly. He had always been a warrior, a protector, someone who could be counted on to stand tall in the face of adversity. But now, in this moment, as he tried to recapture that essence of who he had been, doubt began to creep in. Each swing of the blade felt clumsy, lacking the precision and speed that had once defined his prowess in combat. The flow of his movements, once so natural, now felt labored and forced. But with each faltering step, Kodo felt a fierce determination rising within him, propelling him forward. He had been brought low, broken by the weight of grief, betrayal, and self-imposed exile. But he was not finished. He could not be finished. The machete, with its gleaming blade and sturdy handle, became both a symbol of his past and a beacon of hope for his future. He could not erase what had happened, but he could choose what to do with the time that was left. As Kodo moved through the motions of his impromptu training, he could feel the dormant strength within him beginning to stir, a spark of the warrior he once was. Each swing of the blade, each step he took, was a testament to his resilience and unwavering resolve. The hours melted away as day turned into night, yet Kodo persisted, his focus unbroken, his determination as steadfast as ever. With every passing hour, Kodo could feel the familiar ache of exertion spreading through his muscles, a welcome reminder of the physicality of his endeavor. The sweat dripped from his brow as he pushed himself to the limits of his endurance, determined to emerge from the crucible of his trials stronger and more capable than ever before. But the journey was not an easy one, and it soon became clear that the road to reclaiming his former self would be long and arduous. As the days stretched into weeks, Kodo confronted a harsh truth: he was not the warrior he once was. The months of self-imposed exile and indulgence had left him weakened and vulnerable, a shadow of the man he had once been. It was a bitter pill to swallow, to accept that the greatness he once possessed had slipped through his fingers, lost in the fog of despair and regret. But rather than succumb to the despair that threatened to engulf him, Kodo chose to embrace the challenge before him. This was not just a fight to regain his strength, it was a fight to redefine himself, to discover who he was now, after all that had transpired. The machete was not just a weapon, it was a tool of transformation, a means by which he could forge a new path forward. Under Joku's watchful eye, Kodo embarked on a journey of self-discovery and redemption. Together, they delved into the intricacies of martial arts, exploring the nuances of combat and the artistry of the machete. Joku's teachings were rigorous, yet filled with patience and wisdom, guiding Kodo through each technique, each form, with a focus on mindfulness and precision. With each passing day, Kodo's movements became more fluid and purposeful, a testament to his unwavering dedication and Joku's patient guidance. The elder chimpanzee pushed him to his limits, urging him to go beyond what he thought was possible, to tap into the strength that lay dormant within him. Joku's belief in Kodo never wavered, and that faith became the foundation upon which Kodo built his resurgence. Yet, despite his progress, Kodo could not shake the lingering doubts that plagued his mind. Would he ever be able to reclaim the mantle of greatness that had once been his? Would he ever be able to face his adversaries with the same confidence and skill that had once defined him? The answers remained elusive, hidden somewhere amidst the echoes of his past and the uncertainty of his future. These doubts gnawed at him, threatening to undermine all the work he had done, but each time they arose, he would push through, driven by the memories of his parents and the love that they had shown him. In the quiet moments, when the training was done and the exhaustion set in, Kodo would sit in silence, grappling with these questions. The weight of his past actions, the decisions that had led him to this point, bore down on him like a heavy burden. But in these moments of reflection, Joku would be there, offering words of wisdom and encouragement. Kodo, Joku would say, his voice calm and steady, greatness is not about never falling. It's about rising every time you do. You are not the same man you were before. You have faced trials that would break most, yet here you stand, still fighting, still striving. That is the true mark of a warrior. Kodo would nod, taking Joku's words to heart, but the doubts would still linger. He knew the road ahead was fraught with challenges, and there were moments when the weight of it all seemed too much to bear. But each time, Joku would remind him that he was not alone in this journey, that he had the strength within him to overcome whatever obstacles lay in his path. As the weeks turned into months, Kodo's transformation continued. His body grew stronger, his movements more precise, and his mind sharper. The machete, once a symbol of his past, became an extension of himself, a tool with which he could carve out a new future. Kodo began to reclaim the warrior within, not by becoming who he was before, but by embracing who he had become, a man forged in the fires of loss and betrayal, tempered by the love and wisdom of those who had guided him. But the journey was far from over. As Kodo stood at the cusp of his transformation, he knew that the real test lay ahead. The enemies who had taken everything from him were still out there, their power unchecked, their schemes still unfolding. Kodo's heart burned with the desire for justice, not just for himself, but for the parents who had been taken from him. And so, with Joku by his side, Kodo faced the future with unwavering determination. He knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, that the path to justice would be long and arduous. But he was ready to face it, armed with the strength and resilience that he had fought so hard to reclaim. As Kodo swung the machete one last time before the setting sun, he felt a sense of peace settle over him. The weight of the weapon in his hand no longer felt foreign, it felt right. The warrior within him had been awakened, and he was ready to fight. Not just for himself, but for all those who had been wronged, for the legacy of his parents, and for the future of Gorillist. The unveiling of the second plan. 3 months had passed since Kodo embarked on his journey of redemption, and the transformation was nothing short of remarkable. His spirit, once battered and fragile, was now infused with a relentless determination. His body, honed through rigorous and unyielding training, had been reforged into the vessel of a formidable warrior. In the crucible of discipline, Kodo had reshaped himself, emerging with strength and speed that rivaled, perhaps even surpassed, the heights of his former glory. As he stood amidst the tranquil beauty of the forest, the machete in his hand had become more than just a weapon, it was an extension of his very being. The blade, once foreign and awkward in his grasp, now moved in perfect harmony with his thoughts and intentions, guided by an indomitable will forged in the fires of adversity. With each swing of the machete, Kodo demonstrated his newfound mastery, slicing through the thick vegetation with ease and leaving behind a trail of fallen trees and severed branches. His movements were fluid yet precise, each strike executed with the grace of a dancer and the power of a seasoned warrior. The hours spent honing his skills under the watchful eye of Joku had paid off. The uncertainty that had once plagued him in the early days of his training had been replaced by a quiet confidence, a deep sense of purpose that drove him forward. The sun hung high in the azure sky, casting dappled light through the dense canopy above as Kodo executed a series of intricate maneuvers. The machete gleamed in the sunlight, a blur of motion as he moved through the forest with the precision of a predator on the hunt. Sweat glistened on his brow, mingling with the earthy scent of the forest floor as he pushed himself beyond the limits of ordinary endurance. He felt alive, his senses heightened, his mind focused on the task at hand. From a distance, Joku observed the scene with a mixture of pride and admiration. The old chimpanzee had witnessed Kodo's transformation firsthand, guiding him through the arduous process of reclaiming his strength and martial prowess. Joku had been more than a mentor. He had been a beacon of wisdom and stability in Kodo's tumultuous world, steering him back onto the path of righteousness when despair threatened to consume him. As he watched Kodo now, he knew that the young warrior had come far, but the journey was far from over. The first plan has been executed flawlessly, Joku remarked, his voice breaking the silence that had settled over the forest. There was a note of satisfaction in his tone, but also a hint of anticipation for what was to come. You have reclaimed your strength, your skill, and your purpose. But now, it is time to move forward. Kodo turned to face Joku, his expression reflecting a mix of anticipation and apprehension. He had come to trust the old chimpanzee implicitly, recognizing the depth of wisdom and the clarity of vision that Joku had imparted throughout their time together. Now, as Joku prepared to unveil the second plan, Kodo braced himself for the trials that he knew would come with it. As you know, Kodo, Joku began, his voice grave yet tinged with a quiet optimism, the path you walk is fraught with obstacles, each one more daunting than the last. But I have faith that you, a king born of destiny, will prevail. The second plan is the culmination of everything you have learned, an intricate test of your strength, your will, and your commitment to justice. Kodo listened intently, his gaze fixed on Joku's withered face. The words hung in the air like a challenge, a call to action that resonated deep within him. He had come this far, overcoming challenges that had once seemed insurmountable. Whatever lay ahead, he knew that he would face it with the same resolve that had brought him through the darkness and into the light.